So drawing this campaign to a close, in these last two parts, I figured we'd kind of start off just not in detail, but just kind of recapping everything. So you guys met in Baldur's Gate at the Elfsong Tavern. Anya Enduran, a human bard from Waterdeep, Samura, a Aarakocra mage from Port Nyanzaru in Chult, and Eartha Sepret, a human cleric devoted to the Red Knight, a war cleric, from Luthachek in Chisenta, far to the east. And after being attacked by a group of cultists who you figured out owed their allegiance to Cyric, the god of lies, or the Prince of Lies, as he's often referred to. You guys kind of stuck together, not sure why you are being viewed as a group from that. And yeah, you guys stuck together. You had escapades in Baldur's Gate, and then you left the city gradually, going to the Citadel of Strategic Militancy, just a ways north, to follow Eartha for what he was doing here. And then after you'd kind of been there and adventured in the Fields of the Dead and that surrounding area for a while, you returned to Baldur's Gate briefly and headed to Candlekeep, which is the largest library in the known world for Samura. And then you guys headed east to Westgate. You spent some time there, not nearly as much as you'd spent in Baldur's Gate and the hinterlands around it. Again for Samura, as you are tracking, as Samura was tracking his adopted father, Aberundax. And then you followed that trail to Suzale and Cormier, where you resolved that, where Samura met his father and sorted that out, and finally renounced this growing allegiance to Tiamat that had been brewing since Baldur's Gate. And then you guys made your way to Waterdeep, where you've been most recently, except for one brief return to Westgate to fight in the Quivering Thumb, where you met with Anya, your friends, and Samura, your friends. And then the end game for a while has been Eartha, your brother, is getting married back at the Citadel of Strategic Militancy, and that's where you guys have been kind of returning to now. You've just kind of been doing like a half-world tour as you return to Baldur's Gate, as you left Waterdeep by ship and returned to Baldur's Gate and kind of revisited the familiar haunts from when you'd been there the first time and resolved some loose threads from that initial visit. And yeah, last session we resolved everything that was still standing out, that could be remembered. Did some odd jobs, and you just kind of killed the time until it was reasonable for you to return to the Citadel, which is about a day's journey north of Baldur's Gate again. And yeah, like kind of where we left off was you'd spent the night on the road on Anya's birthday, and you'd exchanged presents and eaten and partaken in food and blah 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 blah, and then the next morning, continuing on, with the knowledge that the reason, even though you're not quite honed in on the reasons specifically, but the reason for that initial attack in the Elfsong Tavern many months ago seemed to be something to do with these keys, these 7 black iron alien-looking keys that are rumored to release Cyric from his immortal prison. And you've only ever come across one of these keys, which you had for a time, but then it was stolen from you. And it has recently been returned to you, no questions asked, but with some cryptic notes that allude maybe a change of allegiance in the side of one of your enemies, but it's hard to read into, especially knowing how unpredictable and, purposefully unpredictable and mad the followers of Cyric can be, so it's hard to really read too much into that. But yeah, you departed Baldur's Gate, and you are you are aiming to return to the Citadel on the 16th of Mertul, which, you know, the morning of the 16th, the day after Anya's birthday. You pack up your camp, you kind of ready your wagon and your horse, and then Samurai, you summon your spectral mount to accompany them. Bertha, you've still got your newly acquired left arm, which had been ripped off by sharks and the Seared Swords, but has now been replaced by a clockwork arm, almost like a skeleton arm, but made of bronze and gears and screws and things. And it's wrapped in bandages, so it's not immediately visible as an oddity. It just looks injured or frail or something like that. That morning you guys pack up your camp and you push forward to the Citadel of Strategic Militancy, which, you know, it's not a super long journey, especially since it's only about roughly a day's journey from Baldur's Gate. You guys kind of left Baldur's Gate late-ish in the day. You spent the night on the road, and then so not super early, but like early afternoon, mid-afternoon, you'd be arriving at the Citadel. Actually, it's probably late afternoon, probably looking like 4ish, 5ish by the time you're actually arriving at the gates. But from much before then, you can see it from miles away. You know, the Fields of the Dead, the area that you're currently in. It's, even though it's a macabre name, it's not really much to look at. It's just rolling green fields, occasionally some hills and like roll of the hills, but for the most part, it's just kind of flat with the occasional bumping. The reason it's called the Fields of the Dead is because of ancient battles that were fought there. So underneath the ground, there's lots of, you know, the skeletons and the remains of long dead ancient soldiers and battles and things like that. And, you know, very often farmers dig up skeletons and weapons and items from long forgotten wars. And occasionally, you know, magical things happen, undead risings out of the grave. But yeah, it's very scenic. You don't see much of that on the surface. But from miles and miles and miles away, maybe even before sundown the night before, you can see the Citadel way off in the distance and gradually getting closer and closer. It's very unique looking, completely made out, or at least the Citadel itself is kind of a name for a cluster of things. It's everything inside a wall. So there is a wall that surrounds a few buildings, kind of like a miniature city. And this wall is fairly tall, and it's completely made of red and white marble, kind of in like a checkered pattern, like a chessboard, but red and white, which mimics a game that is much loved by clerics of the Red Knight, and which Eartha has a copy of that he sometimes plays, called Lanceboard, which is it's similar to chess but slightly different, and instead of being black and white, it's red and white, and the rules are slightly different here and there. And yeah, so you guys see it from a long way away. You've been to the Citadel before, so you know it's this red and white checkered wall that is its defences, with only one entrance, one big portcullis entrance. You know, portcullis, the gate that comes down in the Barbican. And contained within there are only a few buildings, and some of them are very large, but it's just it's more the quality than the quantity of things. There is like the actual like Citadel proper, which is this very large, ostentatious building, this domed building. The walls of these buildings, or the walls of the Citadel proper, are just solid white, and the domed roof is red. And some of the accents, like the windowsills and some of the lining and accents and things, are red as well. The first floor of that is a giant lance board, where sometimes this life-size game of lance board is played with actual people, because it's that large. And there are even like these large pieces, lance board pieces, like chess pieces that are huge. And there's even like whispers that they are actually stone golems, things like that. and this above, when you walk into that big circular space, that's also kind of the temple. It's kind of the worshipping space. But when you look up, you see like this donut-shaped floor above you with this open middle, and that is the library upstairs. Attached to the citadel proper, like kind of coming off that circular domed building, is the barracks, which is a very large, again, multi-floor. Even though the citadel proper is only 2 floors, it's not like the way a 2-story house is. You know, those floors are very tall, so it's a very, very large building, even though it's just 2 floors. And on that second floor, the bookshelves go quite high as they reach the dome, the interior of the dome. But yeah, the barracks is multiple floors, you know, more homely size, kind of the size of the room you're in now, probably, but multiple floors, 5 or 6 probably. And that's where all of the relatively few in-resident people, you know, the people that are there in training or have some sort of permanent position here at the Citadel, that's where they live. And on the bottom floor, kind of the feasting hall where they eat together and kind of lounge together and things like that. But most people who are at the Citadel are people like Eartha, who were coming for a purpose, which was promotion. You'd originally come for your knighthood, Eartha. And yeah, you found yourself, and your friends were able to stay. There was plenty of space for you all to stay. But you know, Eartha, you suspect, knowing Romas, the Citadel will probably be a lot busier than it was last time, you know, as friends of the Bloodhawks and friends of, not so much the Separates, but friends of Ramas come from far and wide for the wedding, and, you know, you imagine the barracks will be quite full. You know, there's a variation, kind of on the upper floors, there are single rooms where, like, each room just has a bed or 2 beds, and then the kind of the lower floors have, like, you know, a room with 5 bunk beds in where lots of people sleep. And yeah, but besides from the Citadel proper and the barracks that comes off of it, within the walls still is the Bloodhawk estate. So the Bloodhawks are the kind of the family that represents the Red Knight's religion, as Caitlin Bloodhawk a while ago had been the avatar of the Red Knight when all the gods had descended to Earth and the Red Knight had possessed her body, and so she kind of inhabits this very demigod-esque position within the church, but not quite. And now her family, her children, are now kind of also viewed as the elite of the church. And, you know, Eartha, your brother Ramas, is kind of marrying into that through his marriage to Saria in the next few days. And yeah, the Bloodhawk estate is a very nice large mansion. Oh god, my voice just broke. That's been a while. The Bloodhawk estate isn't quite. It stands out from the walls of the Citadel and the Citadel proper and the barracks. It's not made of white marble with the red accents and the red roofing and things. It's kind of like a much more typical mansion, but it's a private estate. So, you know, like, that's where the Bloodhawks live. It's a very big building, so all the Bloodhawks live there. So Caitlin, her 2 children, Saria and Uriel, and Uriel's pregnant wife, Verona, and by extension, Saria's fiance, Ramas, also lives there, and also, and you know, other descendants of the family line, other, like, grandchildren and things. Uriel and Verona, sorry, mind blanking, too many made-up names. Uriel and Verona have 2 children already. They also live there. And yeah, you imagine, Eartha, your family, if they're already there or when they arrive, they'll probably be housed in the Bloodhawk estate, in the manor house. But you imagine you guys will probably stay in the barracks, just because that's kind of tradition of how these things are done. But besides from that, the majority of the interior of the walls is just empty. Big courtyards for training and marches and parades and things. And Eartha, you would know, for a big event like this, you know, there are several, like, holy days for the church of the Red Knight, but then for celebrations like this as well, like weddings, that space is needed for things like jousting and melees and, you know, celebratory events that might be held for big celebrations like this. that you might be interested in taking part in, should they be available. But besides from all that, the only other thing is the stable, where horses. It's outside the citadel walls, kind of to the right of the portcullis. There's a large stable building where the stable master lives, and attached are the stables, where many horses can get. The last time you were here, there weren't that many, because again, if someone is at the citadel, they're kind of permanent there, and most people in the Red Knights religion are transient. They move around, or they don't live at the citadel. They serve as a tactical advisor to a monarch here, or an emperor there, or they serve in armies around the globe. So on this nice, it's a nice spring, I think, a nice mid-spring day. Mostly blue skies with kind of clouds crowding at the horizon. You get this kind of familiar, nostalgic sense. You spent quite a while here. It was here where you kind of went off on the other way to that ruined city shrouded by fog, where you'd met the Amethyst Dragon, and then you'd went a bit further and fought the ancient Green Dragon, and then you asked the Amethyst Dragon for help, and it was a whole thing. And Samura became a vessel for an evil dragon god, and so you had a lot of adventures here. So as you approach, and you see some similar, dressed similarly to Eartha, as Eartha wears the traditional raiment of the Red Knights, which is this kind of coppery, blood red, heavy armor, heavy plate armor. You see similarly dressed people kind of on patrol on the road and up by the gatehouse, up by the portcullis, and walking the walls. Though not terribly. It's not like militant, even though it's strategic militancy. It's not like oppressively militant, but there's a military presence here. It's well guarded. You guys pull up. You get a polite nod from one of the patrolling guardsmen that's walking along the road, and you kind of turn up off the beaten track, off Thundar's Ride, which is the name of the road, and towards the portcullis, which isn't a long journey, only a minute or two off-road, not off-road, but off the road, and up to the portcullis, where there are, as there had been last time, although these are two different people for reasons, there are guardsmen or clerics or somehow devoted people of the Red Knight. One of which waves to you, and he's like, "Can I help you? What's the reason for your visit?"
We're here for Rames's marriage.
Oh, and he kind of looks to the other guardsman, and the guardsman's like, "Can we take your names?"
I'm his brother, Eartha, separate. This is Anya and Samura.
Oh, apologies. You're early is all, but if you're Ramas's brother, I'm sure it's completely all right. Just see your carriage and mount to the stable master, and we'll let Saria know you've arrived.
Thank you.
And one of them stays at the gate, and the other one kind of heads inside to notify someone that you've arrived. He said Saria, which is Ramas's fiance, who you remember as being a youngish, kind of similar age to Ramas, if not a bit older. Ramas is like late 20s. Saria is probably about 30, maybe also late 20s, but late to her 20s, at least. You remember her as looking a lot like Caitlin was meant to have in her youth, as very bright ginger hair and a big spattering of freckles, but she has a very tough and butch reputation. That she's one of the more respected militarily people in the citadel. So what are you guys doing?
I guess we'll go stable the horses.
Mm-hmm.
And Jackson can de-summon his. Unless he's in the cart.
Do we even have a cart? Did we get one?
Yes.
Pretty sure.
I've got to carry around my goldfish somehow.
Yes. Okay. Well,
And we need to
yeah,
get
I'll
Jade
just,
there somehow.
I'll just step off my horse, and as I step off my horse, it kind of vanishes from front to back.
Yeah, kind of turning into stardust as you dismount. The stable master takes your mounts away, and you do notice there are more mounts in here than you remember last time. If guests haven't really been arriving yet, you think probably members of the church have just started making their way back. People who are like, they have license to be here more so than being guests of the wedding party. Just like, they've returned for the wedding and they've just happened to return early. But it's not super busy. Your horse has very easily found a place, and your wagon is kind of gets a tarp thrown over it and tucked around the back. And the stable master takes note of your names so he knows who's collecting it when you're ready to depart. And yeah. So the other guardsman says, like, she just turns to you and she's like, feel free to enter the walls. Bennett will find you whenever he's located Saria, but she might be in a meeting. It might be a while. Feel free to do whatever you like in the citadel or the barracks. I'm sure someone will be able to locate you.
Is there a place I can, like, leave my stuff, take my armor off, kinda, or should I keep it on?
I would keep your armor equipped for a while, and when Bennett finds you, he'll find you some rooms as well, and then you can relax there.
All right, thank you.
No worries.
Can I turn to Urfa as we presume they're walking away from this guy? It has nothing to do with him. I'll say to him. I dwindled all of that effort to get you a nice leather gauntlet to fit your hands, so it could still be work and stuff like that. And you haven't even bothered to put it on.
Yeah, I'm putting it on once I take the bandage off. I just don't want to, walk up to my brother with an arm that's not mine. I prefer to let him in slowly,
Well, you could put the thing over the bandage. The bandage would still be on.
Nah, I want to fist bump him first, so he knows that it hurts.
Okay.
There, I'm gonna wear it.
Samurai will pout and walk away.
So are you guys hanging around outside in the courtyard, or are you guys going into the temple or the library or the feasting hall or the barracks? Or are you guys hanging around outside? What's the prerogative?
Well, I think I'm gonna hang around outside. I feel like Samurai's probably gonna start scrounging through books if he wants to. I don't know what Anya's gonna do.
I was actually going to suggest the big pieces of a lance board, are they able to be used to play a game?
Yes, but not typically. It's usually for occasions, like holy days. You probably want to pick that up. Yeah, it's not so much like you don't even know how. You don't actually, if you look at them, you're not actually sure how, they're really freaking heavy. You're not sure what you're meant to do with them.
Never mind.
I mean, you could pull someone aside if you like, but yeah. So what's everyone doing? What's the vibe?
I'll wander into the library and just lazily look around and just kind of try and preoccupy my time.
Sure. Anya, Eartha?
I'll let Anya go
I am going to locate Verona.
Okay, cool.
first.
And Eartha?
Just go laze around outside.
Sure. So Eartha, you're just kind of kicking dust, waiting for Bennett to come tell you that he's located Saria and then show you to the barracks. Samurai, you're going to head up to the library, maybe find out who the new librarian is.
Ruin another librarian's life.
And Anya, you're going to find Verona, who you'd previously had some conversations with. The last time you were here, you'd kind of spent the day with her and Uriel on the just kind of go. She was kind of a few months pregnant at that point, 4 or 5 months pregnant. You think so? She wanted to go for walks, but she didn't go too far. So I think you and Verona and her husband Uriel, you'd kind of been going for walks on the battlements atop the walls and kind of sitting around and talking up there. And yeah. So we'll start with Samura. Yeah. So Samura, you kind of go into the citadel. You see huge lanceboard, big walls, the second floor far up, and you go up one of the curling staircases that curl up the round wall, up to this donut-shaped second floor underneath the blood-red dome above you, and you see this very packed library that kind of surrounds the walls and kind of spurs off towards the railing of this donut. And you see a few people up here. Last time there really hadn't been many people, but there are a few people up here. They seem to mostly be, maybe one or two aren't, but maybe they're just out of uniform. But mostly they appear to be other members of the church, studying or reading for leisure, something, partaking in the library. And you can't immediately... you don't look at someone and go like, oh, they're the library. No one looks to stand out.
Is there like a desk or anything where you'd like expect him to be, but he's just not there?
There was a desk last time. You notice that desk has been removed.
I'm gonna walk up to the closest person and be like, do you know, is there a librarian anymore?
You see, it's just an oldish man. He's kind of out of armor on the top. He's kind of got leather armor on the bottom, but kind of just like a dress shirt on the top. And he seems to be like, he's just sat down with a tome he's got from the shelf, and he puts it down when you kind of walk over. And he's like, oh, I don't think so. We just got told to help ourselves. I think it's free reign.
I'll just say like thank you, and I'll start looking around the books.
No problem. And he opens the tome, starts looking around. Yeah, is there anything you're looking for, or are you just looking to kill some time?
I think I'd actually look at blade singing.
Okay, yeah. Because of the last librarian's interests, there are a few tomes on blade singing. This elven art about this kind of elven wizard fighter hybrid, that this kind of skill that only elves can learn. Some half-elves have been known to be capable of it, but not many. You spend... Is there any specific information you're looking for, or are you just kind of killing time?
Just kind of like wandering, like killing time, looking over it, and kind of like seeing, every time I see like a really powerful ability, just being like, well, it didn't help you very much.
Okay, fair enough. Well, cutting to Anya. Anya, as you're kind of looking around for Verona, you see the guard you'd all spoken to at the gate who'd come in. You kind of approach the estate, and the guard, Bennick, a youngish man, probably younger than you and Eartha, maybe about 17, 18, kind of very, very well-combed black hair. Doesn't look like he's doesn't look like he sees a lot of action so much. Looks like he's got fairly minimal duties where he doesn't get too banged up or anything. He's kind of coming out, and he kind of, as he sees you kind of coming the other way as he's leaving the estate, he's like, he says like, oh, can I help you? I was just coming to find you and your friends. Is there anything you need, or?
I'm here to see Verona.
Oh, and he points up to the battlements. He points to, you kind of know the way, because he kind of explains like, I think Verona's up on the wall by a lonesome. I think she's just out for fresh air. The others, the Bloodhawks, are currently in meeting, so they can't greet you as of yet. But if you'd like to go find Verona, or I can show you and your friends to your quarters.
Fine, thank you. I'll go see her.
Very well. And he kind of gives you a curt bow, and he goes to find Eartha. So you're just gonna climb the stairs up to the battlements of the wall and find Verona. Cool. So a few moments later, Eartha, you probably... Are you doing anything while you wait, Eartha? Are you thinking about anything? Are you talking to anyone? Are you doing anything? Or are you literally just, like, waiting for something to happen? Are you tired? What's the...
I'll observe the area. You see, like, who's here. New faces, old faces. anyone I recognise, that kind of a
Sure. Make a perception check with advantage, even though you've got plus 1,000.
thing. Yes. Do you want me to even roll it if it's advantage? Well,
Yeah, I want to see how high you can get.
how high I can get, right? Well, that is a... What's 16 plus 19?
Too much. 37?
Something. I was more aiming that towards Jackson, though.
What?
Okay,
16
thanks.
plus 19 is 35.
There we go, 35.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I don't know how I fucked that up.
It's not our strong
So,
point.
yeah, you see Anya wander off towards the estate. So as you come through the portcullis, the citadel and the barracks inside the walls are to the left. The courtyard is kind of this big, vast emptiness in the middle, and the estate is to the right. So just for like general picturing it, that's kind of how it looks. And yeah, so you see Anya kind of says she's going to try and find Verona, and she walks off towards the estate. And you see Samura go off in the other direction towards the citadel to go to the library, the citadel proper to go to the library. And yeah, you're kind of just waiting around, looking around, seeing the faces. Definitely busier than the last time you were here, but like Bennick, you suppose, had said, it's not super guest heavy at the minute. Or friends from within the church are still guests of the wedding, but most people that are here are church internal. It's no one kind of exotic or anything has shown up yet. Most people, not most, but like you see a few familiar faces. You're like, I think I might have talked to them the last time I was here, and you're like, I think I might have seen them the last time I was here. And some people you're like, don't recognize. Yeah, they all look similar to you. You think most of them are probably lower rank than you, not quite knights. But kind of
promotion.
Yeah. So that's something you can chase up as well, and yeah, you see colourful faces. The population of this of the citadel reflects the population of a city. Like it's mostly humans, then half elves and elves, then maybe a dwarf here and there, maybe a halfling, and like you don't really see anything any more exotic than that. You don't see any tieflings, especially tieflings, even though it's often unfairly given. Tieflings are often associated with being evil, even though they look like devils, even though they might have red or purple or black skin and devil horns, it's usually the treatment of tieflings that makes them evil, rather than anything within them already. So you don't really see anyone like that, anything more interesting than that. You don't doubt that there probably are more interesting exotic races in the Church of the Red Knight, but they're probably transient. There probably are tieflings. There might even be Asimar. There might be, maybe orcs and things like that. But you don't see any. You maybe even see like a half orc here and there, maybe one or two half orcs. But you don't. Kind of reflects the population of a city. Anything that might scare people doesn't seem to be present. And it's not that they're not there, but they're just not currently visible. But yeah, if there's anything like you want to try and do, you can try that, or are you just people watching?
Just people watching.
Fair enough, yeah. So you watch your friends you stay in the courtyard in the middle. Samura goes left to the citadel proper. Anya goes right to the estate, and you see Anya and Bennick kind of bounce off each other. You see he kind of points her up to the battlements above the portcullis, kind of the gatehouse above where the portcullis comes down on the walls. He kind of points her up there, and she kind of makes her way to the wall to walk up this red and white staircase. Actually, no, the staircase itself would probably just be solid white that goes up and to the top of the battlements. And Bennick kind of heads straight towards you, and he kind of starts talking to you from 10, 15 feet away, where he's like,
I can hear it.
And he's like, Saria and Uriel and Caitlin and Ramas as well are currently in meeting. So they, I couldn't get in to see them, but I'm sure you are who you say you are. So I can show you to your rooms, and I'll notify Saria later on. I'm sure they'd like you to maybe feast with them at the estate tonight instead of in the feast hall with the rest of us. Yes. Is there anything I can help you with or anything, or would you like to go to would you like to find a room?
I think my room would be good. However, do you know if my parents are here yet, and my sister? Because I know they said they were going to come early, but I don't know how early they said.
I wouldn't hold myself to it. I'm not on guard duty every day, but I haven't seen anyone of that shares you and Ramas's particular complexion recently. Or you obviously look a fair bit like Ramas, but I haven't seen anyone that matches that recently. I can ask around, but I don't think so.
No, it'll be alright.
I'm sure they'll be here within the next few days.
Well, I hope so. Actually, how early are we again?
5 days.
Yeah, about 5
days. Damn.
That's what we said.
It's your birthday tomorrow, isn't it? Or is it today?
Samara, it's currently the 16th. Samara's is the 18th.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, do you just want to find a room then?
That'll be great. Thank you.
Just this way. You get the sense he's kind of a bit nervous around you now, because even though you know Ramas, any position Ramas holds doesn't really mean much for you. It's kind of like me finding out someone's kind of loosely connected to royalty in a way. He's kind of just like, oh, this person's like a special person. So he's kind of timid, and he kind of makes light conversation as he makes you. And as you kind of enter the bottom floor of the barracks, which is like the big feasting hall, it's kind of got like, so it's a big rectangle room. At the top, it's got one kind of horizontal long table, and then below that it's got 3 horizontal long tables, and you get the sense the one at the top, in terms of events and feasts and stuff, at the top the more important people will sit where the whole room can see them, and then just the masses will sit at the on the other tables that kind of face the other direction and go up. And yeah, as you kind of enter there, he's like, are you hungry, or can you hold yourself? Or would you like food sorted for you and your friends?
Nah, we'll be alright for now. Also, as a little tip, well, not tip, a point of it, you don't have to be nervous around me. I don't know if you realise, but it doesn't matter who you are. I'm fine with talking to anyone. I mean, I literally walk around with a bird and a pop star in the making, so...
I'm a little bit embarrassed. I didn't know who you were. Caitlin talks about you 3 a fair bit. You have a bit of a reputation now.
I bet it's a bad one.
Well, she said you were very instrumental in. She's distributed word among the faith that we're to all keep our eyes open for these keys you've mentioned.
Yes, I have news on one of them as well.
I'm sure that will only make your legend ring louder. But yeah, so she holds you and your friends as reason for that. Although she doesn't like the feathery one so much, but
he has that effect on people. He's very inquisitive, and sometimes it gets the better of him. Very much gets the better of him.
You guys are kind of walking up the stairs, and he kind of stops for a second, and he's like, "Oh, but don't get me wrong, though. Mistress Saria is a big fan of him. She says he's quite strong in his own way."
Oh, he is strong, but it's just inquisitive. His mind kind of fucks them a bit. I mean, he is only 4, so fine, a couple of days. So
weird.
Bird people.
I suppose I don't know much about bird people.
I think he only lives to about 30 as like a max.
That's
young.
sad.
Yeah.
Well,
he's looking for immortality at this point.
He kind of doesn't talk as much, thinking about your friend dying. And he kind of stops in front of a room, and he kind of knocks on it lowly, and he's like, "Yeah, this one's free." And he opens the door handle. You see, it's a room with 2 beds, and he's like, "Well, we can either one of you can stay in here, or 2 of you, or we can drag another bed in if you want to all stay in the same room, or two or one of you can stay here. We can sort 2 rooms. We shouldn't have any shortage of rooms. A lot of people are coming in big groups, so they'll stay in the barrack rooms downstairs. It's really up to you, however you all prefer.
We'll have to discuss on that, because I don't know if Anya would want to sleep in the same room as us, but...
No worries.
Thank you.
Oh, well, I'll leave this room with you for now, and if you need more later, just let me know, or someone else, and they'll sort you out.
Yeah, just let them know I'll probably be in here. Yeah, I'll probably just be in here. So if, Ramas or anyone's free, or if you see the other 2, just let them know.
Very good. Yeah, I'll try and find the others to let them know where you are as well. Yeah. Right. Good day. And he kind of begins trotting off down the stairs. Yeah, are you doing anything in the room, Earth, or are you just taking your armor off, getting like some clothes on?
Take my armor off, put some clothes on, and just kind of like lie on the bed and just relax a bit.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so you guys cutting back out. Samura, you're killing time in the library, reading about blade singing. Aether, you're lazing around in the room, kind of just getting some rest in. And Anya, you've made your way up to the battlements, and as you make your way up the steps, you hear talking, kind of getting louder as you approach the top of the steps, and you kind of crest around a corner, and you see Verona, and she just seems to be talking to herself, just kind of talking about what she's doing. She seems to be painting, although she's very pregnant at this point. She was pretty pregnant last time. She is like really pregnant this time, and you would bet pretty easily she's at the 8 or 9 month mark at this point, and yeah, she's just kind of like humming and then talking for a second as you approach, and she's just kind of like one hand on her belly, kind of leaning forward and painting. Last time she'd been painting a landscape, if I recall correctly. The landscape you can see from the battlements. She was painting a rendition of the Fields of the Dead, kind of at the midday sun. You see, this time she's painting people. It looks like, just to remind you what she looks like. She is she's not from Kalimshan, but she is Kalashite. You might recall Little Kalimshan, the shanty town that you and Eartha had visited last 10 day, or no, probably just a few days earlier, actually, I guess. Oh no, it would have been a while ago, considering the moving through time. She kind of grew up there poor, and when Uriel was younger, he'd been in Baldur's Gate for one reason or another, and they'd met and fallen in love, and they'd married, and she'd come back to the Citadel to live at the Citadel, so she is Kalashite. She's got dark, sandy amber skin, and long black hair, and besides from the pregnancy, she looks like she would usually have quite a slender frame, but because she's like really late in that stage of pregnancy, she is a little bloated and tired and kind of haggard looking, but she looks like she's just enjoying the painting. You get the sense, like last time, Uriel probably would have been here had there not been some sort of meeting going on. But yeah, she's just kind of humming to herself, occasionally stopping to say a few words as you approach. She doesn't seem to have noticed you.
So she hasn't noticed me, but she's still talking to herself.
Yeah, she's just you kind of overhear her. She's just going like, you see, she's kind of leaning forward. She looks almost uncomfortable, and then she like leans back on the cushions and stretches that arm out more, but you notice it kind of, she's not getting the angle with the brush she wants, and she's like, oh, okay, now the chin, always had a horrible chin, just kind of, and then she goes back to kind of breaking from humming to mutter a few words.
I'll just approach and say just a simple, like, hello. Lovely to see you again.
Yeah, as you make yourself known with a greeting, she kind of like her head kind of snaps to look at you, like the brush arm still reached out, and she goes, "Oh, Anya," and she goes to, almost forgetting herself for a minute, she goes to stand before she was like, "Forgive me if I don't stand."
No,
And she kind
please sit.
she rests back in her chair. This kind of, it's just kind of like a standard kind of wooden chair, but it's had some cushions put on it for support. And she kind of gestures. You see Uriel's seat, but Uriel is obviously in meeting, and she's like, "Oh, please sit. Have you and your friends returned for the wedding?"
Yes, we have. A little bit early, but
Well, better early than late. And she kind of just finishes some details on the side of the face in the painting and puts the brush down, and kind of turns the chair a bit to look more at you. And she says, I trust you've been well?"
Yes, we've we've escaped death many times, but overall I'd say we're in good condition. So how far along are you now?
"Well, I'm glad you did escape death, you and your friends. I am very far along. The more studious downstairs say that I should be popping in the next few days. It is not the first time I've given birth, or the second, but it is definitely the most tiring. Perhaps I'm getting too old to..."
You have other children?
"Oh, yes, they are, well, running around somewhere. They might be in their rooms. They're hard to keep track of. But yes, they are 3 and 5 now. They, boys. I'm hoping for a girl this time. But yes, I think I will be taking a break after this, and Saria and Ramas can carry the flag forward." And she kind of like slouches back in her chair.
Well, let's just hope you don't end up with 2.
"Oh, please don't say that. I don't jinx it." And she kind of like chuckles for a second, and she's like, "Although I'm a twin, so it's not impossible."
Oh, who's your what's your who's your sibling?
My brother Rahul. We grew up together in Baldur's Gate. Well, not Baldur's Gate, outside of the city. But if I say the neighborhood, most people don't know what I mean. So Baldur's Gate for all sorts and purposes. But he's a sellsword now. He's up north, I think. Last I received a letter from him by Raven, which was a month or so ago. He was north, on ships, selling his sword on ships here and there, protecting against pirates and the like. Much more adventurous life than I, but I think I've had enough bloodshed. And she kind of runs her fingers along her stomach. So you said you'd avoided death a few times. Interesting stories, I hope.
Yeah, too many to count, really.
I won't make you indulge me. I'll probably forget. And you see she kind of winces every now and then, from the just kind of straining in her belly. And she's like, I suppose your friend will be waiting to see his brother, but they'll probably be in there a few more hours. They're sorting out last arrangements before the wedding. They're preparing a joust, I hear. So if any of you are interested in that malarkey, and I hear they received a letter. I hear they received word anyway, day before last, that your friend's family should be arriving tomorrow or the day after. So so he can expect them soon. Yes, I think you'll be... I imagine Caitlin and the others will want you to join us in the estate for food tonight, so we'll have chance for deeper conversation then. Would you mind helping me back to the manor? I can't walk very well.
Yes, of course.
And you kind of help her out, and very slowly help her down the stairs of the battlements. And eventually, seeing you halfway down, one of the patrolling guards kind of runs over and gets her on the other side and helps you both down. Is there anything else you want to talk to her about, or do you just kind of make conversation as you walk her back to the estate?
A little bit about her brother. I just want to know, obviously she said he was up north, but that was about a month ago, so I'm just going to ask whether he will be attending the wedding.
I don't suppose he will. I'm not sure if he's ever met Ramas. He wasn't even around for my wedding. He was off working somewhere or someplace. I'm not sure if Ramas knows him. He has been once or twice, but that would have been Ramas was a little younger, and he wasn't settled here at the Citadel. He was out and about. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he knows Saria either. I don't suppose so. I've not heard anything to indicate so. He's not particularly fond of. He always wanted to return to Kalamshan. But I'm settled here now, and I've never been to Kalamshan. We were raised, a day away from here. But he sees it as our culture. He always wanted to return. I don't think so. So eventually Bennick finds each of you. You help Anya. You help you and this other guardsman kind of help her to the estate, and the other guardsman is like, "I'll see you inside, but go about your day." And you do catch a glimpse of in some sort of like large lounge room, Anya, one of the outside windows. As you walk past, as you walk through the gardens back to the courtyard, you kind of just see something in the corner of your eye. You glance over and you see in this big lounge, you see Ramas, Eartha's brother, and Caitlin, now old and grey-haired, and Saria, still, young and ginger hair, and Uriel, Verona's husband, who is older than Saria a bit, kind of swept aside, greying, salt and pepper, black hair, with these round spectacle glasses. He's probably about 35, maybe 40, but that might be a bit of a push. Just kind of the core people in there making decisions, and you see some lower ranking people who are probably making arrangements or helping make arrangements for the festivities. And at this point, it's Bennick finds you and he explains to you where the room is. And he's he kind of explains directions, and he's like, "I'm just going to find your other friend just to let him know." And he wanders off again to find Samura. And in the library, Samura, you kind of feel a hand on your back as he kind of leans down, and he's like, "Oh, your rooms are just..." And he explains to you where the rooms are. The room currently is. So you got. What are you guys? Are you guys making your way back to the rooms? Are you doing anything else? What's the?
When he puts his hand on my shoulder and he's like, "Oh, this is your room. I want a tent room," and stand up as if I'm going to leave and go, but just kind of say to him "I'm just reading this book on blade singing. Did you? Obviously, elves."
You see, he cringes. You see, he visibly cringes at the word blade singing.
I'll just keep going. Elves obviously live 800 years. I'm not exactly sure. It's a long time, isn't it? I mean, in a couple of days, I'm 10-5, and I'm only going to have 25 left. I kind of make myself sulk a bit and kind of put my hand on the shoulder. It's a sad reality. The Arakrokan people live, and I'll go put the book away and walk past them.
He looks at your hand as he does it, and as you're walking away, he's like, "Lady Saria says you're a great wizard. I'm sure you can figure something out."
Keep walking.
Yeah. So you make your way back to the barracks?
Wherever the room was.
Yeah. So upper floors of the barracks. And Anya, are you doing the same, or is there anything else you'd like to do?
And I'll just head back to the barracks.
Very good. Yeah, so eventually, Eartha?
Before Samurai gets back, I'm going to put the sleeve he got me on, and then I'm going to sit in the corner of the room and start disassembling and cleaning Omen and Echo. But then obviously have them hopefully reassembled by the time they get there.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, so you've got them like sprawled out, and cleaning the parts and reassembling them, making sure, keeping them fresh, keeping them tight. And yeah, eventually you guys, following Bennick's instructions, you find your way to the room on the 4th floor of the barracks. The 5th floor is the highest, and there is an attic as well. But the 4th floor is kind of like where there are like 2 and 3 bedrooms, and then the 5th floor is where there are like single bedrooms. And yeah, you come one by one. So yeah, you guys are all back in the room. What are you guys doing? Just wait around.
I'm going to ask him. I'll let Jackson go first.
I'm just going to jump onto a random beam in the roof somewhere, lie down, and go, "This is comfy."
In this room, there wouldn't be any exposed beams because there is another floor and an attic above you. But you do know there is an attic. If you want to make your space the attic, you could probably you don't see any foot traffic going up there.
Is there like a wardrobe or anything I can just sleep on top of?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I just jump up onto like something high, like a cat, and just be like, "This is nice."
Well, that kind of solves what I was next going to ask. We have a choice. We can either have another bed put in here, or you can have your own room, Anya. It's up to you. But by the looks of it, I don't know if we need a bed in here.
I will take my own room.
Thought so. All these months and you still.
I don't want you two will get up, so. I want to be in the same room when it happens.
Well, hold up. Me and Jackson aren't Samurai and Eartha in game. Alright?
Different people.
I don't know that.
Characters hate each other. Players do. Yeah, so Anya, you find Bennick easy enough, and he'll sort you another room. He actually, since it's just you, he gets you one of the nicer rooms upstairs. That's just a 1-bedroom that has like this queen size bed in it. So you really win the deal overall. Yes.
I want to get the duvet from the bed which Eartha isn't using, and launch it like on top of the wardrobe, just so it's like a comfy place
Making
to
a
lie.
mess.
Yeah.
Is there a chair in this room?
Yeah, there's like a little desk and a chair,
Perfect.
and then like a few stools.
He throws it at me.
Jade can stay on that.
Jade's like trying to climb up, please. Jade gets in the cupboard, in the wardrobe. Yeah, so Jade will take a seat at the desk and just kind of like tap her hands around. She just looks like kind of fidgety. And yeah, are you guys just kind of hanging out into your rooms until anyone comes and finds you, or?
Yeah, I'm just gonna wait for Eartha to do something.
Well, I'll see if Jade wants to go train for a bit, because I know she loves to do that. But if she doesn't, I'll just stay in the room.
And Anya?
I am just going to wait in my room till I'm seen to, but I'm probably going to get changed into something a bit more formal if we're going to dinner.
I will say, probably just in these wardrobes, you do find just like secondhand clothes as well. There's just stuff that's been left, or seems to be stuff like that. So like your clothes at the minute are just kind of like you've got like your standard traveling clothes, and you obviously have the much more formal dress you've bought, but you can take off some of like your armorings, like your kind of leather jerkin that's kind of more protective. You can kind of take that off and just wear like the dress shirt underneath, or like probably get a clean one on because you've been traveling for a few days. So yeah, you're wearing mostly the same clothes, but you just kind of like you take off your traveling boots and your like armorings and stuff, and you just kind of like wear the comfortable clothing underneath and some more comfortable footwear. And Eartha, you said the same, putting on some more comfortable clothes. And obviously you do look a bit more formal as well because you're not wearing like ragged traveling clothes. And Samurai, your clothes are kind of smart-ish, comfortable-ish anyway, so it's not really that much of a big deal. But yeah, Eartha, yeah, Jade, when you say training, kind of like a dog, Jade kind of gets up and she kind of starts walking towards the door, and she kind of keeps looking back at you and looking towards the door.
Alright, I'll go outside and instruct Jade how to train.
I'll go with.
How to swing a mace.
Sure. Yeah. Samurai, you say you're just watching.
Yeah, I'll go watch.
When I go out though, I will put Omen on my back along with a bag of holding.
Mm-hmm.
With obviously I'll have the key on me as well because that's not going anywhere without us. And I will always. I'm saying this now. That will always be on my person, regardless of what we're doing.
So you're always trying to hide Omen.
Oh no, I'm not hiding Omen. I'm just kind of keeping in a place to get it. I was on about the key. The key is always on me. At every given time.
Right. I see.
When we...
So out of the box.
No, in the box.
Okay, so in a bag, not on your person.
I'll hold it while he's doing the training. I will hold it in front of me, on my stomach, so to speak.
But you keep a tight hold on it. You've learned from the past. You're not idiots. You can't get stolen from twice, surely. So
I inspect the box to make sure the key is still inside. I'll give it a
little beep. Yeah, you see it.
That's alright.
So you spend an hour and a half training with Jade. While Anya, you do whatever, you get changed and stuff upstairs in your room. And Samurai, you watch, and just stop me if there was anything more specific. But yeah, eventually you see Bennick, and Bennick's like, oh, the meeting's finished now. They're getting ready to sup. If you guys would like to go and join, you've been invited.
Sure.
Do you want me to go find your friend, or do you have that?
We'll go. Got it.
Very good. And he kind of gives you a curt nod and wanders off in the other direction. You alright, Jackson?
You said, oh, Anya gets changed. Samurai, you watch.
Again, characters v players.
To be fair, I was in my own room, so unless you've got vision.
He's got wings.
I'm obviously watching Eartha fight you. It's just the way you said it.
I know. I get now that I'm thinking about it. That is what it's.
Right, you perv.
And yeah, so Eartha and Samurai, you guys call on Anya, and you guys can head over to the Bloodhawk estate. And yeah, there you're led into the dining room, where you are seated at the dining table with Caitlin at the head of the table, and next to her Uriel, then Verona, then on the opposite side Saria, then Ramas, and next to Uriel and Verona are their two children already, and next to Ramas is Eartha, then Samurai and Anya as well. The table is bigger. There are a few spaces at the table still. It could seat more, but obviously this is the core people. Is there any instead of doing this, it's just more because I imagine particularly Eartha, you probably have some things you want to talk about, but just from my end, I'll just say you guys have conversation over foods, lots of different foods, pies, cakes, meats, vegetables, steamed fruits, things like this. You can find what you fancy, some fish here and there. Instead of kind of role playing through a whole dinner party, just you begin a conversation, and to whoever you're saying it to, and we'll go through that. So does anyone have anything they want to talk to someone about at this table?
Yes, I would like to request a meeting with Caitlin.
Okay, Caitlin's kind of just cutting into some bacon, and she's like, "Is it regarding anything that cannot be discussed at the table? Is it private, Mr. Separate?"
It's to do with what we spoke about last time.
Very well. After supper, we will convene to the lounge and let the rest of our family eat dessert while we discuss, and then we shall return for some after. And Ramas kind of gives you an eye, Eartha, and then just kind of continues with his food. You see Saria, the bride. She looks tired. She looks like she's been doing a lot of training and planning and leading and things. She looks pretty tired. She doesn't speak a lot unless spoken to, which she is occasionally by maybe you or maybe members of the family. And Ramas seems mostly the same, but he's kind of got. You see now that you're here, Eartha, and the rest of your family is showing up soon. He seems kind of like he's a little bit chipper. And at one point, Ramas says, "So Eartha, are you planning on joining the joust or the melee, or are you just going to watch?"
I think I might join the melee if that's an open invitation.
Well, my bride won't let me partake in case I have a bust lip for our wedding day, but
How about this? I can partake for you.
well, I wouldn't say that because I'll be betting against you. So
Oh, that's harsh. What kind of melee is it? Was it like we're doing weapons or we're doing fists?
there are some brawls, but the melee, and he kind of, you notice he kind of glances. Sorry, I kind of seems to be half asleep, and he's like, "If it's a brawl you're interested in, we're both capable of healing magic. We could."
Yeah, it's just I feel like I have an unfair advantage at this point. And I'll
And
take
how
the,
so?
I'll take the sleeve off and I'll start unraveling the arm. Yeah, I lost it a while ago, like a month ago, and
You see, it kind of becomes a lot of people start looking at your arm, this like gruesome metal skeletal arm that now like taps on the table. You see a lot of people like they're staring at it, and Ramas is like, Ramas is kind of leaning back and he kind of chuckles, and he's like, "Well, it's a nice toy. It's a nice toy. It'll help. It'll help."
It's pretty good.
Can I reach into my bag and I'm gonna grab just like pretty sure I'll have something like a rock or like a spell scroll. Like, absolutely
Not
anything.
A rock.
A spell scroll, how about that? A spell scroll. And I'm gonna throw it into the air. Not at the table, like nowhere where it can damage anything. I'm just gonna lightly throw it in the air and just watch Eartha.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm gonna grapple my hand out, catch it, and pull it back.
So
It's like it's been rehearsed.
you see, everyone else kind of follows the trajectory of it. They kind of go like, "Whoa!" when they follow the chain, and it grabs the scroll and then comes back. Except Ramas, who just kind of like looks at Samura, then looks at Eartha, and he's like, "It'll even the playing field for sure, for sure."
Oh, right, okay, so who's in this brawl then? Did you not doubt me? Do you know
Well,
how many monsters are throwing me?
I'm not talking about a wedding event per se. I'm saying after dinner we go outside and we pummel each other and then heal each other so we don't look like shit for my wedding.
I'm fine with that. That sounds good.
But in terms of the melee is whatever your chosen weapon is. Sort of a free-for-all. All of the fighters join the thing at once.
Can I like?
yeah,
I don't want to. I don't want to interrupt, but at some point just say like, is magic allowed in this?
Oh, yeah. Most people in the church are spellcasters. So magic is...
I'm gonna instantly turn
okay.
the samurai and go, no.
So like, I'll just say it like openly at the table, mostly at Ras. Like, if I turned into like a T-Rex and then started fighting, would it be an issue?
You hear a scratch of metal on ceramic as Caitlin like picks up another bit of chicken, and like you notice Caitlin's just been kind of watching you the whole time. She's like, Ramas is like, I mean, we've never had a T-Rex before, and he kind of like eyes at Caitlin, and he's like, I wouldn't, but there's nothing written against it.
Okay, yeah, fair enough then. I just, if it was all fair and game, I might have given it a try. Maybe entered myself. I'll go back to you.
Yeah, Caitlin just kind of says, as she finishes a bit of chicken, she's like, the rules are whatever you have in your arsenal. And she kind of just nods and returns to her food.
Whatever I have in my arsenal, eh?
Time stop. Stabbing everyone. As you guys kind of, as dinner dies down and people start tucking into their desserts, to their cakes and pies, Caitlin says, Eartha, would you care to retire to the lounge and discuss what you wanted to discuss?
Yes, if that's alright.
As he gets to stand up, can I just say, like, scroll? And just put my hand out.
Oh shit, yeah. And I'll give it back.
You return the
back in
scroll.
slot back in my thing.
Yeah, and then Eartha, you follow her into this, very nice, decadent, fine lounge. Reminds you of the Society for Stalwart Adventurers in Suzeale. Kind of very similar manor vibe, but this is obviously a private residence rather than a clubhouse, as the one in Suzeale had been turned into. And yeah, she paused and you see kind of a serving girl has brought out a tea trolley with a teapot and some cups, and she kind of pours 2 cups, and she motions for you to sit, and she pours, and then she sits in a. Would you sit in like an armchair, like a lounge chair, or would you sit in like a sofa or a stool or stand? Or
depends where she sat. I try to sit more across from her than next to her.
You see, she sits in a lounge chair next to this little coffee table, the circular coffee table. Probably the most opposite would be like the edge of a sofa.
Yeah, I'll sit and nod.
Sure, yeah. And she's like, please, tell me what you wish to discuss.
So, as we spoke last time, we had the problem with the keys. And obviously, I don't know if we ever told you, but we did come in possession and then lose one. We do, however, have the key back, and I would like to give it to you for your care. I just didn't want to tell anyone in there in case, someone found out.
I appreciate sincerely your thoughtfulness on the matter, and she kind of moves the tea tray aside so you can place the box on the table if you wish to.
Yeah.
And yeah, she picks it up. You see her kind of remark that it's lead lined, and she seems to appreciate your kind of awareness of the situation as she kind of looks at it and she opens it. She kind of studies it for a few seconds. Her nose kind of wrinkles and her mouth moves. Closes it again. I shall have it dealt with immediately. Thank you, Eartha. As long as they cannot get her hands... From what I have heard, from what I am aware, each of the keys is individually dangerous, but so long as they do not get all 7, Cyric remains where he is, and they cannot do much about that.
So
you... No, you go first.
I was going to say, so far we know various other key holders, or at least rumours of them, but we haven't been able to successfully locate them.
My ears and eyes across Faerun and beyond are much the same. I have had reported to me sightings and rumours, some of which contradict, others of which don't. It's confusing, but so long as we have one, that is fine. Do we know of a way we might destroy this key? Is it possible?
I have one definite way of doing it, and then one theoretical way, which is probably the better way to do it. Do you know of the hole near where I come from, the ever-growing hole in the world that just destroys all thrown into it?
You see, kind of like she breathes in pretty deeply, and you just hear entropy.
If we throw it in there, no one will ever get it. But then I can't guarantee that it will stay in there forever because it's vastly unknown.
It is interesting.
The other way, however, is a bit more dark and gruesome, and I will go through the steps.
So just for because obviously it is quite long, but just obviously for the sake of our memories, I will pull that up. Is it in your magic item sheet, or have I not added it?
It's not there.
Then I know where. Don't worry, never worry.
I have
Right.
everything but that.
So, Damon's key. You're not sure if the destruction process for the other 6 keys is the same, but at least for Damon's key, the destruction process is this. If a lawful good cleric or paladin consumes the key whole, so they have to force the key into that, they have to eat it and it's solid iron, survives and then beds a celestial or a creature with celestial blood before the key is digested and passed through their body, the cleric or paladin becomes the key, gaining all of its abilities, and can be killed to destroy it forever. So, in more layman's terms, you have to eat this shoe-sized key made of iron and then have sexual relations with an angel or something with angelic blood before your body starts to push it out the other end. At which point, if you are a lawful good cleric or paladin, the key will kind of meld into you. You will become a living substitute for the key with all of its abilities ingrained into you. You saw some of them. You can change one of your arms into this rubbery black talon that does this nasty extra this necrotic damage. You can cast spells like Wrathful Smite and blah blah blah. You will be the key that unshackles things, and other lots of abilities: Dread Blast, Perversion, Cyric's Blessing, the spells, Uncontrollable Urge, Unending Wrath, blah blah blah. Yeah. So the way to destroy it, that the gods seemingly made, was that a holy person had to consume it, bed a celestial creature, and then be killed. And once you become the key, you become evil. You become the key's alignment, which is evil, chaotic evil, and you then have to be killed. So you probably wouldn't even want to kill yourself at that point. So you would have to have other people involved that would carry out the execution afterwards. And you see she grimaces at that, not particularly enjoying the thought. And she kind of rubs her temples and her forehead, and she's like, "Oh, I see what you mean about entropy being a more attractive proposition."
Yeah, it's not the nicest.
So entropy is an unknown quantity, though it doesn't require a much more gruesome and difficult process.
Because you then first have to find someone who will do it, which is a bit more difficult.
You see, she kind of her eyes kind of trail on the ground. Your family is coming from Chicenta, are they not?
Yes, they are.
And so they will be returning after the wedding?
They should be. I think they were going to stay a little while. I don't know if that's changed or not. I can travel with them. I plan on going home for a little bit before coming back. If you're suggesting,
you would do this?
Throw it into the abyss.
She taps her fingers on it a few times, and she's like, "I was insinuating I might ask your father, but you would volunteer
to swallow it? No." That scares
carry
me.
it to entropy.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Well, your family, she kind of gestures back to the dining hall. I thought you might be continuing your adventures after the wedding, but you would return home and do this.
That's what's needed. We need the next step in the journey anyway. Although, I feel like we'll probably split ways for a little while. Ninja.
Yeah, she kind of leans forward. Your friends are admirable, honorable, and useful.
Slightly crazy.
I do not want this key close to your Aarakocra friend for longer than it has to be.
I can understand that, but he's changed in how he sees the world a little bit. Still inquisitive, but he won't do anything with the key. I hope.
She kind of rests her hand on the key, if you intend to volunteer and return to Luthchek with the key, I'm afraid at least he cannot go with you. Or I will ask your mother and father to do the job.
I don't think either of them will be coming with me for after this. Don't get me wrong, I plan to meet up with them again after this, but we've done all we said we would do together.
She nods and releases her hand, and she pushes it back towards you. Then you keep a hand of it, and I wish you God's speed, and thank you.
Not a problem. Anything for the church.
Yes, and we will have to talk, especially after this, if you are successful, about perhaps further promotion.
I'm fine with it.
She nods. We should return before they eat all the cake. She kind of stands.
The bird has a sweet tooth.
She kind of grimaces a bit, thinking about Samura with teeth. It's the first thing I thought popped into my head, and I was like, oh. And then I was like, you know what? She does that as well. Yeah. So you and Caitlin returned in, and everyone's digging it. Is there anything you would like to discuss with anyone tonight? Or you see at this point, Uriel and Verona have headed off. Verona has retired to bed early, and Uriel has went to kind of make her comfortable. Yeah, is there anything anyone else would like to do? Samura?
Could I have said to Ramas while them two were in the room?
Uh-huh.
Just that, just along the lines of back when I first met you, you definitely would have won this fist fight by a country mile, but I think this fight's going to be closer than you expect this time. And I mean, you look like the type of man who's going to enjoy that. So I wish you luck.
I see. So you're bigging up Aether. You're kind of
while still respecting Ramus.
Yeah, you're saying like I wouldn't not take it seriously. Like
bring up the fact that I killed a lion barehanded.
I am paying full attention. There's this really annoying daddy long legs that I'm also trying to kill at the same time. So you know what?
Should we take that break?
Yeah. So yeah, you big up Aether. You respect Ramas a bit, and yeah, Ramas he's kind of wolfing some cake, and he's like, trust me, Feathers, I can put my little brother in the dirt. Doesn't matter how old I get or how old he gets. He's always going to be weaker than me. But I appreciate your respect for him.
He beat a lion with his bare hands.
I killed a red dragon, so...
You had weapons and armor.
Yeah,
and also 40 men, didn't you? Which most, I won't get into that.
Yeah, well, we don't talk about what I was doing, so...
Seems like a different scale, but,
At this point, Caitlin and... fucking Daddy Longhorns. You know what? Let's just keep going, and as I play D&D, I'm going to stalk this Daddy Longhorns.
Entertainment.
So, you guys... there he is. You guys, well, at this point, Aether and Caitlin probably returning from their little outside conversation in the study room area. So, yes, did it. Got him.
Great.
Inspiration.
Thank you very much. As you guys are kind of setting off of that, and people kind of peel away because Verona and Uriel have retired a little early, and Saria seems quite tired too. She hasn't been particularly talkative. She kind of begins to retire, and Ramas kind of kisses her on the forehead and sees her off as well. And then Caitlin kind of sits down to finish off a piece of cake. So it's just kind of you, Caitlin, Ramas, and you three. Is Jade here, by the way, Samura, or have you left Jade in the barracks?
Jade would be here, but she just kind of sat in the corner.
You see Jade occasionally puts food down the helmet hole, and kind of when no one's looking. Yeah, and after a few moments of silence, Caitlin kind of says, I believe there was talk of a brawl.
Yeah.
She kind of looks at Samurai and Anya, and she's like, so, who are we putting our gold on? She narrows her eyes and looks at you and your brother.
Well, I'd put it on magic, but since it's between these two doofuses, I'm gonna go with Ramas.
You absolutely. To be fair, I feel I'm gonna get my ass handed to me here.
Well, you can't have lowered in level, I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
Me on Eartha then. Because
Thanks, Jess.
I wasn't going to bet anyway, but, you know, gotta stick with your friends.
Yeah,
Traitor.
Jackson.
Yeah, and Ramas and me are good pals.
No, I think Eartha will beat Ramas.
Caitlin kind of measures the situation for a bit, kind of brushes some of her short grey hair out of her face. My apologies, Eartha, but it would reflect poorly on the festivities ahead if I did not trust Ramas to uphold a certain level of integrity. And Ramas isn't even listening, he's still eating cake, and he's like, I don't even know what we're talking about, I'm going to win. And you see he's got like cream around his mouth.
Well, now he has a bit of weight on his shoulders,
So he stands up and he's like, okay, let's go in the courtyard. And he begins to push his way forward.
And
Caitlin,
does he have armor?
No.
That's alright.
Everyone is just in kind of like everyday wear. Except for Saria, who you've never seen out of armor, pretty much. And yeah, but not like huge heavy plate armor, just kind of like some chainmail and stuff, even though she was just sitting at the dinner table. And yeah, so Caitlin kind of trails behind you guys as Ramas leads the way outside. Ramas is just kind of wearing similar clothes to you, like a collared, like kind of darkening white shirt with a lot of the buttons done down, so you can see like all the way down to like nearly his pecs. But he's kind of like pretending it's just like an accident. You kind of see he's like stretching his shoulders a bit and kind of hopping from one foot to the other, kind of warming up, kind of crackling his fingers around. And you kind of see like a spark of like divine reddish golden magic, as he's just like almost like, you know, when you get a syringe and you like test it. Mm-hmm. He's almost like just checking I can heal my little brother when I'm done.
I'm gonna turn to Anya, pass her the box with the key and say keep a hold of that, and then pull out Omen and give her that as well. And turn around.
Anya gives you a box and a gun. And Ramas is just kind of like cracking his knuckles. You see he's being very theatrical about it. You see, since last time you saw him, he had a bit of stubble because he'd kind of been on the road a little while. You know, he'd been out of the Citadel doing stuff when you met him, a little ways out of the Citadel. He's kind of got like a nice beard going at the minute. Maybe a little bit, probably about on par with yours, maybe a bit thicker. And you know, it seems well shaved, but it's getting like a few scraggly hairs coming out here and there. And yeah, long hair like yours that he's just kind of got swept back. He keeps sweeping back behind his head, as he's being very dramatic about this brawl. Mm-hmm.
Is it dark outside at this point?
Oh yeah. It's probably about 8 p.m., 9 p.m.
Can I cast dancing lights? Just.
Yeah. What do they look like? Any colours in specific, or?
I'll do them like in a square, and like opposite corners. 2 will be red, 2 will be white.
Nice, yeah. So like this light square, like a wrestling ring, like a of like these reflected red and white lights that paint you and Ramas in like this red and white glow on either side. And he's like, you can heal yourself. I don't want mother and father and sister to see you for the first time in a year with a broken nose.
I might just take my arm off and say it was you. Actually, I had to lie. I can't take it off. It's stuck to me now. So
He kind of, you see, he kind of looks down at the arm. And he's like, I suppose I can't do much more damage, can I? And he can. And Caitlin kind of moves forward, and she says, "It would beget you more to fight than talk. So, 3, 2, 1." And Ramas kind of moves in close. And yeah, we're not going to do this so much as a fight. We'll roll an initial initiative, but then we're going to make kind of like death saving throws. Not for death, but just who goes down. But it'll be based on strength.
right, okay.
So I think you do have a plus on upper body strength with the
I was
arm.
gonna say, does it class as upper body strength?
Mhm.
Because that's advantage.
Yes, it definitely does. So Eartha, roll initiative.
18.
You go first.
Oh, class. Well, that's fun. Unnatural 20. Twice.
Okay, yeah, that is definitely a success. So you Ramas kind of moves in very quickly. You grew up with Ramas when when he first started training. You were too young to train, so you would watch him while you studied magic with your mum. And he'd always been lithe and strong, but he was definitely always a bit stronger than he was lithe. But he, very surprisingly quick, where he kind of does a fake out, does a feint one direction and comes in for you. And just before his fist even gets up, you're just like straight across with the metal arm, and it just kind of like you see like his hair kind of flip forward from the slick back position as just this glob of spit comes flying out of his mouth, as just the clockwork arm just very quickly strikes him, very superhumanly quick. And yeah, you see like just a trickle of blood kind of trail along the side of his mouth, and he just okay, and then he's gonna come in with very quickly as you think he's falling backwards. You see he kind of just like with the foot that's falling back, he just kind of kicks it into the ground and launches back, and from the opposite direction he just kind of almost not even like fully fist closed, he's kind of like the bottom of his palm is open, and it kind of smacks you on the ear, and as he kind of just smacks you in the side, there's this ringing in your ear. You both have 1 success each. It's whoever makes it to the most successes after 3 rounds. So
One's going to be hard to beat. 22.
22. Okay, yeah. Again, do you want to add any flavor, or are you just punching?
This time I'll kind of feint with my clockwork hand. I think it's going to be another hard hit, and then just hit with the other hand.
Okay, yeah. So you notice his eyes are always kind of to your left. He's keeping his eye on the clockwork arm now. That's what this place teaches you: strategic militancy. Your arm is the biggest threat. That's what his eyes are on, and you use that assumption to your actual dominant hand that you are at base stronger with. Just clout him in the wherever, and he and kind of roars back at you. Ooh, okay. Kind of, you see, the more you hit him, you guys are brothers. You probably fought a lot when you were younger, and he was older, so he always won probably. And you see, like, you kind of see, like, you think, like, you punched him once in the mouth and then once in the upper chest, and you see, like, he's more dangerous than ever. He's like, he's got like eyes for you. He's coming for you, and he just like with his right fist, he comes towards you, and you just grab it with the metal arm, and you just see like his entire arm shaking as just your arm is much stronger than a human arm, and he just kind of like his eyes kind of widen as your turn.
23.
23.
Just go for a gut shot to finish it.
So yeah, you're just holding his dominant hand, his right arm, you're holding with your left hand up above, as his eyes kind of widen, and you just kind of shrug and punch him in the gut, and he just... And you see just like a spray of spit and blood comes up, and he kind of like just kind of taps your side. He's like, "Okay, I healed. And he casts some his spells, and he stands upright, and he's like, whew, and he kind of takes a glance at Samurai, and he was like, "Okay, you were wrong. The arm's an unfair advantage. I would have beaten you without it."
Yeah, I did tell you.
So I think Samurai and Caitlin are paying out to Anya.
Yeah.
So we'll say it's not that much. Probably just like a light bet. So Caitlin will give Anya 10 gold pieces, and Samurai, you probably just owe the same.
Yeah.
Still, every little helps.
And yeah, Ramas is like, "Okay, Saria is probably beside herself, so I'm going to bed. And then he kind of remembers himself, and he says to you, he's like, "Oh, there's a good chance Mother and Father and Sister are arriving tomorrow, so keep your eyes out for that." Yeah. Anya?
I'm gonna give my 20 gold pieces to Eartha.
Oh.
Wait, whoa! I'm the one who I'm rich. I don't need it.
Yeah, but still, you won the fight. You deserve the money.
But you won the bet.
Yeah, but...
Nah, I'm just gonna push it back. I don't want it.
Okay, I'll give you half.
I'll take off.
You guys split your gotten gains, and as Ramas is like, him and Caitlin start walking in, and you see Ramas kind of reaches into his shirt, like into his shirt pocket, and he kind of pulls something out, the scrumpled up piece of paper, and he goes, "I almost forgot, they didn't quite get your nose right," and he chucks you this piece of paper.
Oh shit! I know exactly what that is.
Yeah, you don't have to open it. You know, as you catch it, you know what it is. You know he was passing through Baldur's Gate a few months ago and he picked it up. You think he might have even got harassed once or twice because he looks so similar to you.
I settled this.
Yeah, it's not current.
No,
it's
that's
just
what I'm shouting back at him.
They still didn't get your nose right, as he walks into the estate.
Yeah. It's probably more beat up than what it was before.
Yeah. So you guys are standing in the courtyard, these dancing lights dancing around you, red and white. What do you guys like to do?
I'm gonna go to bed.
Yeah, go to bed.
Same here.
Fair. You guys head back to your room and rooms, and yeah, you yeah. So now there's only 4 days till the wedding.
So apart from meeting Eartha's family, it doesn't seem like there's much else to do.
Your bed.
That's not one.
So the next day, we move on to Mertul the 17th. The wedding is on the 20th. We'll kind of take it more generally. What are you guys doing during the day? What does this day look like?
Can I, apart from meeting Eartha's family, I just want a rough thing for like the next 4 days, or however long it is, the exact age. When I'm just going to be constantly holding elven books, like preferably ones where age is written on, and just being near that guy who thinks it's really sad that I'm dying at 30.
Okay.
I will probably go sit on the wall, facing like the path up, and probably read the Book of Wyverns that I bought ages ago and keep forgetting to read.
Sure. And Anya, what's your kind of vibe for the next few days?
Is there anywhere, like, to shop? Like, is there a market or...?
You see there's not like a market or anything, but you notice probably on like the second day, you do notice travelers down on the road, and some of them look like traveling merchants and merchants going to Baldur's Gate and stuff. So if you do want to, like, you could, the reason they're merchants is for coin. So like if you wanted to, you could head out onto the road and like wave one down and ask what they're selling and stuff. So is there anything, instead of diving in on that, is there anything specific are you looking for? Like, are you looking for something like for Samurai for his birthday, stuff like that?
Yeah, last minute birthday present.
What kind of thing would you like?
For Samurai?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
You can spend some, time talking to Aether if you want, or like try and talk to Samara and figure out things you would want, or just thinking. I can go other people first if you want to have some time to think.
Is there some kind of check I can do on Samara to kind of like? Because I know him quite well by this point. Is there a way I can like?
I could tell you.
Yeah,
go
on. I will say make an insight check, and if it's not terrible, then Jackson can just tell you something that he thinks would be good.
Okay, I got 21.
Jackson, floor's yours.
Any sort of spell scrolls or illusionary magic.
Okay.
It's gonna be expensive.
No, you get stuff like 50 gold,
Okay.
100 gold.
I also want to get a wedding present for Ramas and Saria.
Sure. And Aether, you have those swords, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
What I'm gonna give them.
Yeah. Do you have any idea what you'd like to get for the wedding present, or are you just getting something kind of just general?
Oh, actually, no. I would say I'll see what there is, but it's probably something momentous, like something to something to commemorate their marriage, like a sentimental heirloom or something like a what?
It's a doormat.
A doormat. Maybe not. But yeah, something like that.
Can I interject?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Is there a teleportation circle within these walls?
No.
Never mind.
Not as far as you're aware, anyway.
Can I ask someone?
Sure.
Is there a teleportation circle somewhere within these walls?
No.
There we go.
I will say, just because of constraints on the types of things that would be available on the road, you kind of mention to this merchant, and he's like, "Oh, I've got just to see," and he kind of gets off his horse and he kind of wanders back to this little wagon, and he pulls out these two tankards, and one says Mister and one says Mrs. And he's like, "Only 5 gold pieces, milady, and they're all yours." And that seems to be the only kind of wedding-y themed thing that you can find. It's a bit of a tight.
I'll take them.
Sure. 5 gold pieces. Happily gives them to you. And in terms of spell scroll, Samura, do you have any spell preference?
Not off the top of my head like that.
Tell
I can have a look.
Tell you what, how about pick a level and I'll give you an unspecified level scroll that Jess pays for, and then you can pick the spell.
Well, I think it has to be level 1, so it's not wildly expensive.
Sure, yeah, so I think it's 50. No, let me check.
It's a common item.
Common magic item. Alright. It's 100 gold pieces.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
So, Samura, Anya, you get a first level spell scroll for Samura for his birthday, and Samura, you can fill in the blanks on that. So during the 17th, Kethoth, Eartha's father, Nephis, Eartha's mother, and Thola, Eartha's younger sister of about 15, they all show up at the Citadel on horseback and stable their things. Eartha, the day you know they're arriving, what's Eartha doing? Is Eartha kind of like hanging around outside waiting for them, or is he just like, when they get here, someone will find them?
I said he was going to be sat in the wall reading.
Sat in the wall reading. So yeah, Eartha, you're probably, I like to imagine you like Iron Man 2 style, where he's like sitting in the donut, on top of the donut shop, kind of just sitting in between where the walls go like up and down, just kind of like sitting on the side, kind of leg outstretched, reading your book about wyverns. I'm gonna say Um,
I'm gonna be there a while, aren't I?
No. You on the following day on Mertul 17. I'm just checking something because you know how I hate to break law. So wedding.
While you check, I've just realized I don't have them a wedding present.
Sure. You follow Jess down to the
Would you like to go half us?
You get the Mister, I'll get the Mrs.
Would you like to say it's for both of us and I'll give you all of the gold in return?
Okay. Aether, you're reading your book and you kind of shift uncomfortably. You're sitting against stone and you kind of hold it in one hand. So it's kind of hanging over the outside of the walls, and you're kind of reading it, and you just see it go fly off as a guiding bolt hits it and sends it flying over your head down into the citadel behind you. And you see on horseback, you see your younger sister just kind of holding a finger gun up towards you.
I'll pull out my real gun and point it back at her. I won't shoot, but I'll point it back.
You remember your sister being, where Ramas definitely had martial prowess. Ramas was a very good fighter. Thola was a prodigy at divination, spellcasting, and you were very much quite good at both. You weren't a master of both or a master of either, but you were more flexible than either of them. You could do both. You point the gun, and she kind of just and gives you a little wave as your mother and father kind of look at her confused before following you up. Just to save time, similar to how Ramas kind of just looks like a slightly older Eartha. Eartha's father, Kethoth, looks like a much older Salt and Pepper, kind of short-cut hair, not kind of long and swept back like Eartha and Ramas, but kind of short-cut, buzz-cut hair, not buzz-cut, but a bit longer. But then a mostly clean-shaven beard, but kind of just growing in grey stubble that contrasts against his dark skin, and black hair except for the grey in the temples and some kind of splattered up top. Eartha's mother is kind of not lithe, kind of a little bit of a stocky woman of similar complexion, as they're all Chisentin. They have an amber complexion. And kind of black hair that's done, dark brown to black hair that's done up into a bun. And Thola looks kind of tomboyish, kind of like, she almost looks like in that evolution chart. She kind of, instead of looking like a younger version of their mother, kind of looks like a younger version of Eartha, with kind of like side-swept dark hair that isn't super long. It's pretty long. It's longer than Eartha and Ramas's, but it's not super long when compared to how Nephus's would be when it wasn't in the bun. They ride in. You come down to meet them. Joking aside, Thola embraces you after having not seen you a while, and your father gives you like a firm side hug and ruffles your hair, and your mother kisses you on the cheek, and someone sends for Ramas, and Ramas comes running out, where he picks up Thola, and kind of you guys all celebrate together for a time, during this course you can, if you want, introduce them to Samura and Anya.
If they're about,
What about the arm?
Do you not have the leather thing on?
I do, but it still shows the hand.
Oh, right. So you would get, no one reacts to it.
That's fine. That's good with me. I'll tell them about it, but I won't let them. I don't bother.
Just like outside of game, I kind of imagine Ramas has been casting Sending with them to check how their progress is going. So he probably spoke to them last night, and I'm imagining he might have mentioned you don't have an arm. Yeah, human evolution. So yeah, you guys, you go about your day, and blah 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 blah. You introduce them to Samura and Anya when convenient, and then they head into the Bloodhawk estate because that's where they're staying, and to see Caitlin and to meet Saria and to see Uriel and Verona and stuff as well. So that night, Kethoff, Eartha's dad, Nethys, Eartha's mum, Thola, Eartha's sister, and Eartha. Eartha, if you want to, you don't have to. You guys are invited to feast in the Bloodhawk Manor again. So the separates are invited to feast in the manor as you all had last night with Caitlin, Ramas, Saria, Uriel, Verona, and Anya and Samura. You guys obviously can get food in the feasting hall because obviously it's like a joining of the families kind of thing. So if you guys are hungry in the evening, you guys can go to the feasting hall with everyone else, or everyone else in the Citadel. So it'll be pretty buzzing, like you guys can get drinks there, you guys can eat, you can talk to people if you like, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, so Eartha, would you be eating with your family and the Bloodhawks that night?
Probably, because it's been quite some time.
Yeah. Most of the conversation is about Ramas and Saria, but you get the sense, Thola kind of muscles her way in to sit next to you, your younger sister, and she's more interested in talking about your arm and your adventures, and, she doesn't really seem interested in the marriage, the wedding kind of stuff happening, and, she wants to hear about it, and, at one point she's like, Ramas says he beat you up last night.
Did he shite? I've got the money to prove it.
She kind of looks at your arm and she's like, well, I think I believe you.
Unfair advantage.
Unfair advantage.
Probably would have been the other ways, but I will say that out loud as well, just to give him some form of, You see, as you guys talk about this, a little bit louder, so like everyone can hear. Saria kind of gives Ramas the stink eye, like you're fist fighting 3 days before our wedding, but then some of the conversation does turn to you. Caitlin doesn't want to go too much into detail about the mission she's asked of you, but she kind of broaches it. She's like, she mentions that you might be returning to Chicenta with them, and that really excites Thola. She's like, "You're coming home," and she gets excited, and she asks you a bunch of questions you don't know the answer to. She's like, "Well, when are we going home? How long will you be staying?" And blah blah blah, and like will you be leaving it? And like things you don't know. You haven't got any of it planned, and you can't answer. Is there anything specific you want to have said at that meal, Eartha, or are you just happy to is Eartha just spending time with his family and so on? Just spending time. I'll tell Thola that basically if she wants to hear stories, I'll find her. Like she can come find me tomorrow, and I'll tell her all the stories of when I've nearly died, and when I've been thrown by monsters, and what creatures I've encountered, and all the good stuff.
You see, she picks up, and she kind of like, you see like her mouth kind of hangs open, and she's like, yeah, that would be really cool. And then your mother is like, without the gore, Eartha, and she kind of nods her head at you.
I'll bring it back a bit.
And your mother kind of nods and like smiles and nods at you, and Thola doesn't, seems eager anyway. Anya and Samura, are you guys? Do you think you guys? You guys probably have rations, so if you wanted to, you could just hole up in your rooms that night and eat whatever you've got on you. But the feasting hall is down there. What do you think you guys would be doing that night while Eartha's out with his family at the estate?
I would be in my room at the desk with my spell book and this new level 1 scroll of Tasha's Hideous Laughter, and I will be copying it into my spell book, so I have a turn number.
There we go. Cool. And that day comes to a close. We are officially halfway through part 1 of this session. Part 1 was everything before the wedding day, and there's still 2 more days before the wedding. So,
what happened which was so unplanned?
Nothing. It's just you guys are good players, and you describe what you're doing. Well, it's almost like we've been doing it as these characters for 2 solid years, and we inhabit this world and these characters very easily. I literally just DM'd a session for 5 minutes while I stalked Daddy Longlegs. That's what happens when you do this for too long. So the next day, we'll move on to Matul 18, which is Samura's birthday.
I'll wake
Holy
him up
smoke.
screaming and clapping. Happy birthday! Just
So I'll
really
spend this
going for
morning writing Tasha's hideous laughter into my spell book. Then.
Wait, is this the spell I got you?
Yes.
that is it.
I haven't given it to you yet.
I had assumed. I thought my birthday was yesterday. Come give me the spell.
I'll
so I
give
can
you the
put it in my
spell.
book.
Give me my present.
Oh, I appreciate it. I put it in my book. I look at Eartha. Where's my present?
I'll point at the pin he's wearing. I told you this when I gave it to you. It's a bit early, but it's that, I'm afraid. Hey, that's custom made. You're the main.
I had
piece
to
of it.
enchant it.
You didn't have to. That was your choice.
Like a spoilt child.
You didn't have to enchant it. It was meant to be just a nice little thing to show that we're friends. I don't throw that word around lightly with you, by the way. So there's another birthday present.
I'll play Happy Birthday on my violin.
There we go.
halfway through, I'm like, I'm trying to write this down. Can you stop?
I like imagining all of this as well. I imagine this is happening if, as soon as the sun crested the horizon, Eartha's eyes like woke up and he went over to Samura. So like all of this is happening at like the break of dawn, and yeah. So yeah, that's. Sorry though, but the night before, just to rewind quickly, do you guys go down the feasting hall, or do you have the night in your rooms, or outside reading or cavoying, or like, do you guys feast in the hall, or do you do something else?
I think I'd have my rations in my room and go to the library until late at night. And then at
Sure.
like 1 AM I might come back and go to sleep.
Sure. Anya?
I'm gonna go to the feast hall.
Yeah, so Anya, you probably, you meet a few people, kind of rub shoulders with a few people here and there. You don't even learn people's names, but just a few people offer you drinks. They're like, oh, do you, like, as they're getting off from the table, like, anyone want anything? And, you can chuck your drink in and they'll grab you one. And there's food out on the table, meats and everything that you want, meats, breads, desserts, pies, things like this, and you can just kind of grab a leg off and have a bite. Unless and like if you want to, if you want to look for someone specifically or try and talk to someone specifically, you can. You have another 2 nights of eating at the feast hall as well, so there's no rush on that. But yeah, so the following day, Samura's birthday festivities in the morning. Thola follows you up on that promise, Eartha, and she'll kind of come to your room, like, almost like almost like she's a mini you. Like, at the break of dawn, her eyes woke up, and she was like, okay, it's technically daytime now, so I can go find Eartha, and he can tell me about the stuff. So she comes to your room while, like, she, like, not even knocking, she just opens your door, and what she sees is, like, Eartha, like, Anya singing and playing the violin really loud, and Eartha clapping and shouting, and Samura shouting, like, I'm trying to write this down! And he's like, you're all just shouting at each other and screeching, and then, like, and Thola just kind of, like, sits on a stool and kind of watches for a bit, watches all of you, before someone notices she's there, and kind of like, oh, like she's a little ghost child from the ring. And then Eartha, you can spend the day with her however you like, and so on.
Can I ask her if she's willing to be a test subject for a new spell?
No.
Yes.
I won't even allow that. No, don't. Trust me, it's not good.
Why?
Because it's gonna hurt, and it's not something good. Every time he does this, someone gets
It doesn't
seriously
hurt.
hurt.
It won't hurt.
It does.
It won't hurt.
You're gonna use that new
There's no
spell that
pain.
you've just got.
I'm a really good healer. I can heal myself.
No, this isn't like damage healing. This is like mental healing. This isn't something you can heal with magic.
What kind of spell?
You just laugh for a while.
No, it's not a good.
I like
type of laugh.
laughing.
It's a
Yeah,
hideous
like,
laugh.
let me-
It's not very good.
Let me show you. I used it on Eartha. So, Eartha,
Wait,
you
will he
need
have time to write this all down? Does he have to wait a bit?
I don't.
I'm
think
gonna
it
say
takes that
yes.
long to copy it down.
So
Hang on.
what do I have to do?
Right. Creature you tries to see from range perceives everything is hilarious and funny. Falls into a fit of laughter after the spell effect. Target will succeed on a wisdom saving throw or fall prone. So he's gonna pass.
Oh yeah, my wisdom's my best.
Yeah. So go
Well,
for
that's 22.
that. He just got there. He got there.
Just got
Yeah, so Samurai, you like this, and then you point at it, and Eartha's just kind of winking at you, like,
I'm gonna start pushing
I'm
Thola
gonna-
out the
I'm
room.
gonna punch
gonna
him.
follow-
Can I punch Eartha in the metal arm and be like, ah! You're no
see,
fun!
you're pushing Thola out, and she's like, what is that? And she's like looking right at Jade, and Jade swivels the helmet and just like leans back and turns away again.
That
Like,
is our semi-conscious animated armor.
Jade puts a thumbs up. She's like, that is so cool. Your friends are so weird.
Yeah,
she's like
I
looking
know,
at Blue.
I know.
Yeah, and you can hang out with Thola today if you like. Is there anything specific you guys want to tell me what you do on this day, Samurai's birthday?
Can I want to kind of do even though it's my birthday, it's kind of like a present for Jade, and I want to go out and spar with Jade. Like, I'm not using magic, just me and my staff versus Jade and a mace.
You do actually see, not a surprise to you, Eartha had sat Jade at the desk, right?
Yeah.
That first day, and that's kind of been her bed. She just kind of sits down at the desk when you guys get back in the room. And you notice, maybe one day, you don't mention it, but you notice like she's been using some ink and paper. And on kind of as you guys later that day, sorry, what did you say you were doing with Jade again?
I was going to take her outside and do some sparring, so she'd have a mace out of me.
Yeah. As you go downstairs and you kind of like explain to her and you're like, okay, so and then she kind of reaches into her face, into a helmet hole, and pulls out a piece of paper, and you see she's drawn a picture of you in ink, like you and you two just standing next to each other, like very childlike, not very well drawn, but like a bird person and a suit of armor in like a big field with a sun overhead, just in like black ink drawn on it.
I'll just ask whether it's lovely. Do you like drawing, or is this like, are you just trying a bit of everything? Thumbs up if you like drawing specifically. Yeah, you're just trying a bit of everything.
She kind of points at herself and then points at your money pouch and then goes like,
"Oh, are you wanting paid?"
Points at your money, like she kind of like pushes the thing in your hand. You get the sense she's trying to say like she couldn't buy you a present. She doesn't have any money.
Oh, is this a birthday present? Yeah, this is the most thoughtful thing out of the three of them. I mean, Eartha just got a thing for the group. It wasn't even a present for me. And Anya did go out and get me a lovely new spell. I must say I like it, but magic was the obvious sort. It has some real meaning behind it.
Jade just kind of gives you. She kind of like stands for a second and then she just kind of gives you like a quick side hug and then like leans back and gets her morning star out and she prepares for the sparring.
I'll kind of do it in a way like I want to antagonize her so she goes full force for me. But I'm not wanting to hit her.
Yeah, fair enough. So Anya. So actually, we'll do Eartha. Eartha, what would you be doing that day? Just hanging out with Thola?
Yeah, literally tell her from start to finish what we did.
Just the whole.
But the only thing I'm missing out is the amethyst dragon.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Because
Cool.
obviously she might have to do that, and I don't want her to.
Very. I'm gonna give you right now. I'm gonna give you 3 inspiration for remembering a detail like that.
I'm also not going to mention how we got away from the green dragon. I'm going to leave that as a mystery to her. Because obviously the amethyst had a big part to play.
You see, she watches enthralled. She asks questions amazingly. She comments sometimes. She's like, there's no way he thought blowing up the back of the carriage would work. That's stupid.
That's what I said. Experiments are good.
Greatest idea in this game.
And then yeah, at one point, from a break, you notice on this day, on the 18th, because the wedding is like one full day away, like decorations and things are starting to be put up, and like what are the words? Like prop up like fences and stuff for the jousting and for the melee. Safety things and decorations for the wedding and stuff like that. Like wreaths and vines and stuff, like nice flowers and stuff are put everywhere. And magical effects are being tested to see which one Saria and Ramas like on certain things and blah blah blah. But after Ramas kind of bows out for a bit and comes to join you and Thola for a bit, and he does the same. He kind of snidely comments on things. He's like, I wouldn't have done that. I would have just done this. And he kind of minimizes your stories as though like if he'd been there, he would have just like walked out of the situation with an arm. And
I'm not going to mention
so,
Carlos. I'm just going to say I fell into the ocean. I came back up and it was gone. The Kraken from earlier came back for a bit more.
He kind of nudges Thola and he's like, can't even go swimming. And yeah, you guys have a nice day. The siblings kind of, talking about, and it doesn't take all day. Maybe if you go into real detail, it does take a few hours to tell them everything. But then, Thola tells you about her life back at home, about her friends in school now that she's in divination practice full time, in the temples and stuff. She tells you about what's going on back home, like politically and stuff like that. And then Ramas kind of fills you in with the blanks and kind of how he's feeling and blah blah blah. And yeah, and that night, only Kethoth and Nephis and technically Thola are invited to feast at the manor again. So only Eartha's parents and sister are invited back to the mansion tonight since they're the ones staying there. But Thola kind of turns it down. She's like, she wants to come to the feasting hall with you guys if you are going to the feasting hall that night. And yeah. So who's going to the feasting hall that night, or is anyone staying in the rooms? Yeah. So you two, Samurai, you just going back to your room?
Go back to my room, just carry on teaching Jade the alphabet and how to write and how to do that sort of stuff.
As you guys are walking into the barracks after a full day and you start going towards the stairs, you see Thola kind of stops and goes, but it's your birthday.
It's, I don't know if Eartha's told you, but it's only my 5th birthday. I have plenty more to come.
Not that many.
Purposely leaving out the details that I only reached 30, hoping Eartha hasn't said anything.
I haven't, but she knows.
That's fine. I'll leave that detail out.
And yeah, and you head back up the stairs, and Jade kind of, you notice a weird thing. As you're walking up the stairs, and you're like, "Come on, Jade," and Jade kind of walks up. You see Jade kind of crouches down on one knee, and she gives Thola this little yellow flower she picked outside, and Thola kind of smiles at her and like tucks it into a tunic, and Jade follows you upstairs. And yeah, so Thola will hang out with Eartha and Anya down in the feast hall, while Samura spends his birthday suspiciously alone in his room.
Robot, which can do multiple things.
I will say actually, probably already.
That was weird.
Probably not even today. Probably yesterday. At some point, Saria, Ramas's fiance, would have found you, Samura, just to like see you again and be like, "How have you been?" and like catch up with you very briefly. But she seems quite busy, and she's like, she thanks you for making it for the wedding, and she's like, we should go out and hunt again afterwards, and like if you're staying and blah blah. And yeah, and then she heads off again to go about her wedding duties. So Anya and Eartha, anything particular at the feast hall that you want to, they're pretty full by this point. Non-members of the church have started showing up. Some interesting looking to an extent, some not so much. Just people you think know the Bloodhawks or know the Separates, and have come for the wedding from here and there, but mostly people in the church. are you trying to talk to anyone? Or are you guys just having a meal between yourselves, talking with Thola and blah blah blah?
Probably have like a light chat here and there with people.
Yeah, you just get to know the people around you and blah blah blah. Light conversation. You kind of overhear stories, chip in your own, blah blah blah. And yeah, Thola seems just eager to spend the time with you guys. And yeah, so Samura, is there anything you want to specify for the night? Anything you want to make sure has been said, or?
No, it's just that obviously still trying to make sure Jade knows the alphabet.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Jade tries her best. She goes through it with you, and she seems to be getting a pretty good grasp on it now that it's been a fair amount of time. She can explain not complex concepts, but she can write like short sentences that make good enough sense, and explain things through the written language. And yeah, eventually, Eartha, you see Thilda probably back to the estate to make sure she gets there safe, even though it's not dangerous, but and then you return to your room with Samura, and Anya, you go back to your room on the top floor. And yeah, anything else, or are you guys happy to move on to the next day?
I'm gonna move on to the next day.
Cool. Yeah, so now on to Myrtul 19, the last day before the wedding. So the wedding is now tomorrow on the 20th. Yeah, anything... Does anyone want to... are you guys just kind of doing the same you've been? Samura, are you hanging out with Jade? Eartha, are you hanging out with your sister? Anya, are you kind of just hanging out with Verona here and there? Does anyone want to say anything specific? This is the last day before the wedding, or is it just kind of general doing stuff? Yeah, Anya?
I'd like to write a new composition for the wedding.
Oh, very cool. Yeah. Is there any? What kind of? Are you just kind of writing an instrumental? Are there any lyrics, or is it just kind of just an instrumental?
It's an instrumental. I was gonna write like a love song, but no, I'll just go with an instrumental.
That's totally fine. Yeah, so you spend the day before the wedding kind of workshopping some things. What kind of vibe do you want it to have? Do you want it to be very traditional wedding-y, like kind of folky, happy, upbeat?
Very romantic.
Sure, yeah. And obviously with the violin being a very, rich cultural instrument, the sound comes very easy to you as you spend the day. Do you think you spend the day in your room, or do you think you spend it on the battlements, or in the courtyard, or outside the walls? Or...
I'll probably... There's a local tavern, isn't there?
No, there's the feasting hall, where people, there's just the temple, the library, the barracks, and the private estate. And then obviously the walls and the courtyard and the fields.
I'll probably sit in the feast hall and do it there. Mm-hmm. Kind of sit at a table and just write it up, and then practice it when I get back to my room.
Yeah, sure. So you spend most of the day in the feast hall, and coming to and fro. Early on, it's pretty busy for breakfast and stuff. Then it dies down. Then it gets kind of busy again for lunch. Then it dies down, and blah blah blah. And then maybe about dinner time, tea time. Some of the others come to join you, Eartha and Thola, etc. And maybe Samura if he wishes to. Samura, anything specific you want to do today?
No, I don't have time.
Yeah, fair enough. You just spending the day hanging out with Eartha?
Oh no, it's just I know what I'm gonna do. Just
cool.
Ballot. You finish with Samura.
Yeah, just so Samura, you probably just spend the day kind of maybe you hang out with Anya for a bit, hang out with Eartha for a bit, hang out with Jade most of the day, maybe go to the library here and there, go for a walk at some point, just the general, maybe bump into Saria or Ramas, have a bit of a conversation, blah, blah. Maybe even at one point, you're outside, they're putting up decorations, and you see they're sending up this, one of the knights is, trying to hang this wreath pretty high above the temple door, and he's on like this rickety looking ladder, and Ramas is like, kind of whistles for you, and he's like, get, and he kind of just whistles for you, and he's like, Samura, would you mind just flying up?
Yeah, I'll just fly up and just sort it out.
And he kind of like gives you like a slightly like sarcastic round. He's like, thank you very much, and he's like, just get down from there to the other guy. And yeah, do you go to the feast hall that night, Samura, or do you eat rations in your room again that night?
I'll go to the feast hall since it's night before.
Sure, yeah. And Aether, what are you doing on the last day before the wedding?
Well, I'll be spending most of it with Thola and trying to help out where I can, but I would like to try catch Ramas and Saria like on their own at the side, kind of at one point.
Sure. You see at one point, the stable master calls Saria over to talk about something, and Ramas follows. And like after they're done, whatever they're speaking about, there's a period of time where they're alone, walking off to do something else, where you think you can talk to them for a bit.
Yeah, I'll run to catch.
Thola's kind of just trailing behind you.
So yeah, gonna borrow a moment of your time.
Saria kind of like, you see she's getting like these dark bags under her eyes as she's very tired, and she's like, please, you're practically family. And she kind of like looks aside, and she just kind of sits on the stairs that lead up to the battlements, and Ramas just kind of leans on the wall, and he's like, you're practically family?
Shut up, I am family to you.
Thola laughs.
This might be a bit early, I know, because it's not till tomorrow. I want to give you this, and I want to like go in the bag of holding and pull out 2 of the swords, but they're wrapped in like cloth, kind of, so they'll have to wrap them. And I'll give one to like each of them. They can be used as weapons, more decorative than not, but add a bit of touch here and there.
You see, piques both their interest, maybe even more so Saria. She kind of like, you see like you haven't really seen her eyes open more than 2/3, but you see they kind of widen for a few seconds as she like looks on them, and she unwraps them, and she's like, Eartha, these are beautiful, thank you. And she kind of
genuine red dragon scale as well.
It was in the pommel, wasn't it? Yeah. You see, Ramas just kind of like shakes his head, and like kind of tuts at you, and Saria just really studies it, and she's like, these are really beautiful. Thank you, Eartha. We will treasure them sincerely.
No problem. That's all I want, I'm afraid. Good luck for tomorrow.
Well,
make sure you sleep as well. You're gonna need it for the big day.
I know. I've been having some of our. I've been trying to have some restorative herbs, but they seem to just keep me awake more. I think I will be retiring early tonight, and she kind of puts a hand on Ramas, and she's like, perhaps Ramas can stay in the barracks so he doesn't talk all night, and I will get some sleep. And Ramas is just Ramas kind of just like does one of those things where like someone needlessly jabs you and you just go like, okay, and he just kind of like, okay, and he's like, fine, but I'm taking my sword, and he kind of like picks it up, kind of holds it like a soldier would hold like a bayonet, like a rifle, and he's like, but I'm taking mine to the barracks. So Ramas will also join you guys in the feasting hall tonight, I'll say while this is happening, you notice a newcomer to the Citadel. One of the much rarer now, like day before guests. Most people arrived the day before today, and the day before yesterday. And there's been a much fewer people coming in today. People obviously leaving to make sure they're there in time, not wanting to be the day before in case something held them up on the road and they got stalled. And it is a tiefling. He is dressed similarly to you would be on the road. It is a cleric or paladin or fighter or something of the Red Knight in this brassy Red Knight armor, pale red skin, 2 kind of curling red horns that go almost to the back of the skull, the way they kind of curl over the head. You can notice he's kind of got these cloudy milk white eyes, and his hair is dark, brown or black, but it is kind of graying. And yeah, you see, he doesn't get a particularly warm reception from a lot of the people here. You know, just as I'd explained before, tieflings, especially from religious people, typically get which in a world like this, in like a medieval-esque world, pretty much everyone is religious because the gods exist. It's not like, is God real? It's like, God is real. Do you remember 10 years ago when all the gods fell to earth? So it's like, you know, people mistrust tieflings. And yeah, you notice as you're talking to Ramas and Saria, this tiefling shows up with his horse and stables it with the stable master, and you notice people just kind of stare at him from a distance as he walks in, his kind of sword slung over his shoulder, kind of the strap of his sword, as he just kind of carries it in, and he just kind of head down, beelines for the barracks.
You know?
Ramas is like, the tiefling.
Yeah.
He's not well. His name's Honor. He's been a sword at the church for a while, 10 years, and Saria's like close to, if not more.
Why's everyone giving him such evil eyes? Has he done something bad, or is it just because he's a tiefling?
Saria shrugs, and she's like, some people can't trust tieflings. They think devil's blood means devil, and sometimes they're right. So I don't know. And she kind of shrugs, and she kind of pats Ramas on the shoulder, and she's like, I have to go. You see your brother. And she kind of begins to walk back to the estate. She's like, Eartha, thank you again for the swords. They are very kind. She heads back. And Thola's just kind of like, no one's being mean. And she like looks at the people staring at him. And Ramas is like, it's a hard world for tieflings. Truer things have never been said. And yeah, he kind of looks at me. He's like, Honor's never given me a reason to distrust him, but people do. And yeah, and Eartha, do you go to the feast hall tonight as well?
Yeah.
At the feast hall tonight is Eartha, Thola, Ramas, Anya, Samura, probably Jade as well. You guys all sit in a clump. And, you know, because Ramas is there, you guys actually get a sit-up. You're the only people on the top table, like the big, long table at the top, for, like, the special events. You guys sit up there, so you guys are alone. And you do notice, Eartha, right at the other end of the hall, no one sitting anywhere near him is that old tiefling. You notice he is quite wrinkly, not super wrinkly, but, like, he looks like he's maybe 60-ish. Just no one sitting by. You get the sense he doesn't want to sit with anyone either. It's a mix of people don't want to sit with him and he doesn't want to sit with them either. And everyone just stays out of his way and he stays out of theirs.
Would I?
Yeah, it's
Would I notice them kind of being?
Oh yeah,
kind
definitely.
of my life, because you
Definitely.
know, Eric
It's like,
Roker, who
you know
always
the
on
thing. Do you remember in school the thing of like penicillin in a petri dish and all the bacteria just like pushed away from it like a magnet?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. Like you can notice, like you've been in here a few nights, even if you haven't been eating in the feasting hall, you've had to walk through it to go to the barracks. Usually it's a pretty even spread because there's a lot of people here. You've never seen just like a straight line of people avoiding someone.
Can I, you know, I know what it's like being the Eric Roker. Not quite as hating, but I've
Sure.
been judged. Can I go over and sit next to him?
Sure, yeah. Do you sit across from him or next to him or a few seats down? What do you...
Sit across from him, and I think Jade would sit next to me.
Sure. Yeah, so you get a better look at him. Dark brown, but greying hair. Kind of grey in the roots, and some in hair's entirely white. Pale red skin, almost like a pink, almost like a whitey pink. Cloudy, milky eyes, but you can see like these yellow slits in the middles where like the actual pupils are. And as he's kind of just eating, he's kind of just he's got a plate with a bowl on, where he's with a bit of bread on the side of the plate, and he's having like cream of tomato soup. And you sit opposite him, and he just kind of like holds the soup in his mouth for a bit, like the spoon in his mouth, before he kind of pulls it out. And he's like, "Can I help you?" As he looks up.
Oh, no, not really. I just thought you might want some company, and I'll just go back to eating. Try and make it seem so that, like, I'm not going to sit here and talk and annoy you.
Yeah.
But you're not alone.
He kind of, he does like a, it's a free country, like, I'm not going to stop you. And he just got like a shrug, and he's like, "Okay." And he has another bite of the soup. And yeah, you exchange a few words. You know, if you're not going to actively talk to him, he'll occasionally say something to you. You'll occasionally say something to him. And yeah, you know, you like him well enough. He's not particularly stirring conversation or anything, but he's not rude or mean or anything like that. You know, if you ask him his name, he says, "Name's Honor." And if you follow up, you find out that tieflings often name themselves after something they strive towards. Because, you know, tieflings and Asimar, so tieflings are people who have devil blood, Asimar are people who have like angel blood. Tieflings often get treated like bad omens. So if like in a small village, if someone gives birth to an Asimar, like, it's like, oh, the fields are going to be good this year, you know? But if someone gives birth to a tiefling, it's like, oh, we've done something wrong. The gods are angry at us. And so, you know, a lot of tieflings have to do like 110% to like actually like fit in, you know, because people naturally mistrust them, so they really have to do extra. But you know, you like him well enough. He's not mean, he's not rude. You exchange a few things here and there. And yeah, is there anything else anyone wants to have said for this night?
No.
Cool. You guys, Ramas finds a room on the top floor. Actually, you know, Ramas is probably actually just going to crash on your floor. Samurai.
We have a
Oh,
spare
that's
bed.
Bed.
Yeah, Samurai is on top of the wardrobe. I forgot. So, upon finding that out, Ramas will lean his sword against the bed that you've just given him, and he'll climb into that bed. If you climb into the other, Samurai, you get up in your nest, and Anya, you return to your room, and Jade sits at her desk and waits for morning to come. The night passes, and we finally finished part 1 of the session. But I think we'll go ahead and close it here for this session, and we will pick up with, hopefully, needs to be the finale next session. Yeah.